sources close to the Jubilee House is also confirming that indeed the meeting took place, and verbally some acceptance, also went on after Alan made it clear that he was stepping down from the government, and so clearly that's what happened last night. He's been given few days to wrap things up and then possibly hand over, matters relating to the ministry to either one of the deputies or to the chief of staff, and then it would now be up to the president to now decide who should take over from him. But you can infer, looking at the political climate and what is likely to happen this year and going into next year, the reasons may not be far away from what we know. But what we do know is that he's tendered in his resignation. Reasons, according to what we are picking, he described as personal. Thank the president for the opportunity to serve as trade minister from 2017 up until now. And he's of the view that he wants to explore other areas of his life. And that is the reason why he's tendered in his resignation.
Which for us, well, if you put a few things together, is his presidential ambition, because we know that he wants to be president. And I would take a wild guess and say that's to pursue that agenda.
Absolutely.
Yes, of course, you can reasonably infer he wants to be president. That's not in doubt. He's been wanting to be president since 2007, when he first contested the NPP's primaries. In fact, prior to the 1996 primaries, there's a school of thought that a lot of the young executive forum in the NPP at the time, which he set up actually, were pushing him to contest as flag bearer of the NPP. He was only 41 years at the time. He didn't think it was necessary to contest in that election that brought J. Akufo out as flag bearer of the NPP. And following from that, he's been ambassador to the US, has come back as trade and industry minister in the Akufo administration until he stepped down in July 2007 to go and pursue again, his presidential ambition. The question most people would be asking is it in anticipation of a reshuffle that he probably says, well, then I am going? Because some have actually said the president is going to have a reshuffle. But also, there's been a lot of pressure, even from his own camp, Alan Kyeremanten's camp, on him to, resign and pursue his interest. In politics, sometimes people's successes are tied to you. And so for those persons whose successes are tied to you, they would push you to take these decisions. And in the heat of the economic crisis last year, I know that there are people who had called on him to go.
Exactly.
But he said, well, if we're going through a problem at this time, it will be the worst time for me to step down as minister. And you saw him, and granting some media interviews, which he hardly does, talking about how things are going to get better and following a staff level agreement with some clarity on how we want to go. He thinks this is the best time to go.
But you would know, Elton, because I heard from very reliable sources that he tried to resign earlier and the president did not accept.
Yeah, in fact, we got this information, like Winston said. Last year, for example, he wanted to go. In fact, he was under pressure to go, not that he wanted to go. And his response was that the country was going through an economic crisis. Stepping out would mean abandoning the ship. So he decided to stay on. But now people who are very close to him, his supporters, are of the view that it's about time. If you really want to stick his neck out and say that I'm going for to contest the flag bearership race of the MPP, and if I win, contest the 2024 election ticket of the MPP, then this is the time. Because, I mean, you cannot deny the fact that the vice president also has an eye for the slot. And then the argument from the supporters of Alan Kyeremanten is that you will be coming up against a privileged person who is vice president. He's going to be vice president until January 6, 2025. Yeah. So long as he's vice president, all the privileges accorded the office, he will enjoy it. And that puts him in some kind of advantageous position than you. So if you want to stay on as Minister of State, you are limited in a way. So all of this went into the discussion, and information we've picked is that he now decided that it is time to finally, stay away from the government, and then along the line possibly announce officially his intention to contest the presidential slot of the MPP. And that will clearly...
Does this put pressure on the others? I mean, obviously the vice president cannot resign or may not resign, or
he can resign if he wants to.
For him to resign. After all, he's able to still campaign. I mean, he went to a number of churches last month, so he's able to still do his campaign. But there's also the Agric minister that we've heard also has interest in the presidential slot of the
Indeed, the information is that at some point the president had to come in and say that either you concentrate on the role I've assigned you, or you leave my government to go and concentrate on your personal ambition.
Oh, but we know that has not really happened.
Exactly. So
Well,
the Greek minister has not hidden that.
well,
Kennedy Japan says he wants to contest. I've seen his billboards around. He is not a minister of state. Nothing prevents him from doing whatever he wants. The party has internal rules and regulations governing this. How strong they are enforcing it is also another issue.
Exactly, and I mean, as to whether you want to go or stay. Look, in 2007, when you had the 17 people wanting to be flag bearer, Akufo was very categorical. He did it. So he indicated that by 1st July, anybody who wants to be president, anybody who wants to succeed me, should actually resign. He said that because at the time you saw the ministers going around and campaigning, and he felt that the job of the government was suffering as a result of the ministers' own personal interest. Because yes, you are in charge of policy and everything. You're supposed to be monitoring the implementation of government programs and policies. But if you're pursuing a presidential agenda, it affects the government. The question really is, how does this shape the NPP's presidential primaries, in the latter part of the year? With Alan Kyeremanten announcing his resignation, automatically there'll be pressure on, Dr. Akufo-Addo to also step down. Here's the other minister we know who wants to be, president. So far, those who have shown up, Boachi Jako is not a minister.
Yeah, the others are not ministers. Yeah.
So what happens to Dr. Akufo-Addo is another issue, and I'm sure that very soon you probably may hear from him. He also announcing his resignation.
That is if he's serious about this.
Oh, he is serious about it. It looks like he's serious about it. Anyway, what we're going to do, and this is just the beginning of the analysis. We would come back. We're just speaking the news, and so the Elton, together with the political desk, will come back and have a bit of a detailed analysis of all of this. We'll look at how it shapes even the NPP's primaries going forward. Could Alan have still stayed as trade and industry minister and maybe take advantage of it to even campaign, through the 1D1F that is around every part of the country. So when you visit 1D1F project sites, you take advantage and go and meet party people. Is this an opportunity lost also? These are conversations that would be had, because I'm sure that in the build-up to his resignation, all these debates would have gone on in his camp before taking the final decision.